Good to see everyone. And Jerry made an announcement that turn off your mute your microphone so we don't have echo effect. This is our first meeting, Zoom meeting after the Zoom that was hosted by Mike McCornack a couple weeks back. Was that in May, I think, Mike? And so there was a lot of folks discussing about steps to take and what can we do for training, FRS wise, training for basically just what do we do? What is my responsibility, and things like that. What am I supposed to do? And so so that's how we all got started with that. With putting this together. Okay, so what I have done for our session tonight, I don't want to be too long. I only want to work with 20 minutes, and then we got 20 minutes of questions that you may have, so that we can be off of here early, because there's other folks, some folks that go to some other nets at 8 o'clock. So we want to do this timely manner. Most importantly, if you do not have this guide available, I would recommend that you download it, the Neighborhood Radio Communication Response Guide. It's kind of like a blueprint of to help you to prepare before and before a disaster or a major event, and then also to help you after it happens, to steer you along. Not a couple months back, we went through the resource guide on Zoom and kind of went through and did some alterations to some of the wordage with that. So some of you are familiar with that, but I would recommend that you download this if you have not. And it is available on the EmComm.org website under the Docs tab. And it's right there at the front, and you can download that. So taking from the guide and going through, so as I mentioned earlier, let me go ahead and start. Let me start this slideshow. So these were the topics from the May's Zoom with Mike and a number of folks. And this is the topics that kind of everybody talked about, which were where FRS radio operators fit into the overall emergency EmComm system. The other thing was talking about frequencies and channels, the PL codes or privacy codes and tones, radio speak and pro words, damage assessment teams, and of course we had the organizational hierarchy for communications. So we're going to kind of talk about, first of all, the organizational hierarchy communications and FRS radios, and where everybody fits into the overall system of the EmComm system. And so the first thing I want to draw from is, of course, this is from the resource guide. This is the information flow chart. So it all starts within the neighborhood, and that's whether you call them the damage assessment teams, or your map your neighborhood teams, or field teams, whatever teams that are out there gathering information after a major event. They're the heart and soul of the EmComm system. They're the ones that gather information to pass it along. So they're the ones that are using the FRS radios or the GMRS radios, whatever the radios that their group has decided to use. That's That's where the heart and soul of this system is. It's based within the neighborhood. Now that information flows from them, from the damage assessment team to their radio team leader that is talking to them and taking that information. That radio team leader then will generate a ICS 213 general message from the information that was given to the radio operator. And then they will send that to a neighborhood ham that is close to them. So the neighborhood ham will have a ham radio and a FRS or a GMRS radio, whichever is required to speak to that neighborhood group. So that neighborhood ham will take that 213 information, receive it, log it in, and then we'll generate a 213 going out from the neighborhood hams location, and then we'll send it on to one of the 6 districts within Eugene to the district net control. The district net control does the exact same thing, receives that message in and logs it in, and then we'll generate another ICS 213 showing that they sent that message out to the EOC. So that is the flow, the hierarchy, so to speak, of how the system works and how it goes. Any questions so far? If so, maybe if I don't see a hand, somebody please let me know, or just speak up. I hear you. Who's
Okay.
that? Lois?
Is that 213 changed in any way as it passes from hand to hand?
No. It the only, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Is this Lois?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'll get to that. The text of the message does not change from the time of the originator all the way to the EOC. The only thing that will change will be block 8. And what will be on block 8 will be the person's name and call sign or position that they hold as they send it to the next stop. And we'll get to that. So as for you, whether you are a district net control or you are a neighborhood ham or you are a radio team leader for a damage assessment team, we need to be preparing for radio communications, neighborhood and district net controls, whether that is a neighborhood net control working with the damage assessment team, or that is a ham radio neighborhood ham net control that has a net with damage assessment team radio team leaders, or that is a district net control that has a net with numerous neighborhood hams. So you need to have have locations where everybody agrees to it, you know where it's at, and that you may say, okay, we will assemble here after a disaster. The locations should be determined ahead of time. You don't want to do it right at the last minute. Make sure everybody is aware where you're going to be at. I would recommend that district net controls and neighborhood hams, for the best part, maybe even damage assessment team radio team leaders, make your rally point your house. For neighborhood hams and district nets, if your house is not destroyed, the best place to do is stay with your house. You have shelter. If you still have running water, you're able to have a bathroom. You're able to have water. So that's the best place for net controls and for neighborhood hams, for their locations to be at their house. As damage assessment teams, they may choose, may want to go out. Maybe they want to be at a pavilion somewhere in a park. That's fine. So after a major disaster, neighborhood field teams members, we all self-activate. We do not wait for the city to say, go ahead and start. If there's a major event, like we just had with our ice storm, we self-activate and we start talking with one another and we start taking in information from the neighborhoods. Um, any questions so far? So field teams will begin by assessing damage, communicate findings to their radio operator or the radio team leader, which in turn passes along to the neighborhood ham, and so forth. This is everything that I just talked about earlier. Keep an eye on my time here. So for district net controls, neighborhood hams, and even the radio team leaders for damage assessment teams, these are the basic forms that you should have on hand. And that would be the incident radio communication plan, which is the ICS 205, damage assessment forms, general message forms, ICS 213, and the radio log, which is ICS 309. So the radio communication plan 205, I will show you, this is what we used in the Northeast back on June of 2021. So what it shows the UHF one is a tactical, it's a Northeast District the UHF channel frequency for the Northeast District. Here's the number. It's a simplex. The VHF, the primary repeater of the EOC, shows the frequency, the tone, and other information. And then the 205 then goes through and says, okay, for FRS 3 and 4 is on this channels here. This is these channels don't get mixed up. This is where you would have your radio and you would what's the word I want to say? You want to set in on your radios channels 1, 2, and this so forth. Just disregard that. But the FRS channel 1 is for Harlow neighborhood, and it shows channel 1, and the alternate is channel 15. The next one is channel 3 is for Gillum or Northeast neighbors, and the alternate is channel 17. Channel 6 is for Cal Young, and the alternate is channel 20. Channel 5 is for Good Pasture Island Loop neighborhood, and the alternate is 19. So this is handy to have around, and make sure you have this so you don't have to start digging through the resource guide and look up the map and see what is the alternate for that. So everybody should know what their primary channels are for each of the neighborhoods and what the alternate is. And if there's a need, and I'm sure if it is a disaster, there's going to be a lot of people on FRS radios besides us. And so radio team leaders and everybody in that neighborhood should have a plan set up the way to, especially for FRS and GMARS radios, to say, okay, the radio team leaders say there's too much interference. Let us go to our alternate channel. Don't say what it is, because then they're going to move with you. And so everybody should know what the alternate channel is. And then if that doesn't help, then it's time to start working with PLO codes and have that already prearranged, and everybody knows. And you can say, okay, let's go to our primary PL code. Don't say what number it is. And so everybody knows what the primary PL code is to set in your radio to kind of block out the other chatter. So they can hear you, but you won't be able to hear them. Questions, anybody? And we'll have another session later on in the Zoom things talking about PL codes. So this is the 205 that it'd be good for you to have around so you can have it handy. And then we get to a damage assessment form. This is what it looks like. It'd be good to have that your teams, especially the neighborhoods, they can have this, or anybody can go out and and annotate things here and then write up what they see. Lois was talking about the 213. We did make a change on this, Lois. The only change we did is we added over here to the far right, we added the message identifier number space. In this area, if your group is up to as trained and has been using message identifiers, then that's where it will go. The name, yes.
There's actually two, because we also need a priority here, don't we? Oh, no, that's only on the district.
That's on the that is the priority thing that you're thinking about, I think, is WinLink. You've got that.
No, didn't we decide that the message that goes from the district to the
Right.
city has
Yes.
a priority?
Yes, the district net control are the ones that set the priority of the messages, and they'll either put at the very top either a E, a P, or an R, and hopefully they'll kind of separate those into those three separate piles. And then when the EOC calls them and say, do you have any emergency traffic? Then they'll grab the emergency traffic pile and then they'll just pass that information along. Yes. So Lois, let's see. So block 2, the name and position of the person that is originator of this message goes here. Where, I'm sorry, 2, it always goes to the EOC. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Block 2 is always the EOC. The block 3, who's it from? It's from the originator who actually originated the message. The subject usually, and it should start off, if you're using a message identifier, it will start off with a message identifier with a /, then the address of the location, followed by a /, and then a quick description. House on fire, house collapsed, damaged building, or the smoke coming out of the building. The date will be a 6-digit date, like 062624. The time is military time. So the date would be 062624, time would be 1934, no colon. The message, we'd like to do the messages in kind of like a bullet type thing, about keeping each bullet about 5 to 6 words. And then this block 8, approved by, that is, the name goes in there of the person that is sending the message. You and you print it, and then you sign it, and then you'll say what your position, which would be DAT radio team leader, or neighborhood ham, and give the call sign. So that's the general, that would be the general 213. Got to watch my time. Communication log, you log in all your messages, and this is all self-explanatory. The message ID goes here. So you receive a message in, the ID goes here, the time that it came in, and of course, who's it going to is EOC, and then the subject line is exactly the same as the subject line of the message. So once you receive it in, and now you're going to send it on to the EOC or to the net control, then you're going to put the next line, you're going to put your message ID if you're using message IDs, and then you're going to put the time that you sent it, and it's going to go to the EOC and the same subject line. All right. Any questions so far? All right. So your net control staffing, whether it be district or your neighborhood ham or your radio team leader for a damage assessment team, ideally 2 or more individuals would be great to staff a net control, whether it's, like I said, whether it's neighborhood ham or district or damage assessment team. And so you need a person that's going to operate the radio team leader, and then you need a recorder that will help take the information, because it will get kind of busy. And so I will recommend that you try to find some volunteers, people you know, to say, would you be willing to help me in exercises and training, and also if there was a major disaster, would you be willing to help me and work with me as at the as a net control?
And Andy, we've got a hand up from Fran.
Okay, Fran.
So 2 questions. This is just for the radio team leader, these forms, correct?
I got you up a little way. Speak up more, Fran.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's a lot better. Thank you.
So these forms are for the radio team leader, correct?
Yes, this is
Okay.
these are all for either net control, radio team leader for a field team, or the district net control. These are forms that
Okay.
you should have, yes.
And then you said that, we could spontaneously go on, but the EOC may not be available, like you said, like during the ice storm. So we could go on, but if the EOC, like during the ice storm, there was no EOC for the first few days.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to change. Hopefully it will.
Well,
storms
it
like
may
that.
or may not. We have to adapt and overcome any type of situations that we may be presented with. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, Fran, and
Okay.
I'll kind of address that a little bit. So,
Okay.
but it's good if you can try to find somebody that will help you out, to help out with the net control, because it will get busy. Just ask Gary; he'll let you know. So in addition to communication equipment that you have, there's a variety of materials that you'll need to help with your response and to keep you going. This is just a list of just the basics that you'll need: notepads, some pens and highlighters and pens, a clock, maybe a whiteboard or something that you could set up if you need to make a note. Or something like that would be very important to have. And remember now, this also applies to even your radio team leader for your damage assessment teams, to make sure that you're prepared to operate it. It may last longer than just an hour or two. So we want to maintain our skills and have a state of readiness and we try to do this through training and practice. Be ready, because it's going to be tough when it happens and we haven't been training or we haven't been practicing. Then we're way behind the 8 ball trying to get up to speed and trying to figure out what to do when everybody's running around screaming, shout with their hands in the air, and they don't know what to do. So we need to be calm, cool, and collective and say, we've got this, we've trained for this, we know what to do. So, continued practice will build familiarity and your skills, and also help relieve the stress that will come with disasters. So how do we do this? Maintain our skills? Well, we practice following radio structure, net control protocols, and we do that each Wednesday. We conduct radio practices and drills. We try to do that. We've got a drill coming up in July, second Saturday at North Kinsey. We're going to be doing exercise there. Designate primary and secondary channels. Get with your neighborhoods and map a good transmission location or dead zones within your neighborhood. Maybe create street maps with addresses for your neighborhood that you're in, so you know what's going on, or find a map. Maybe get a map and blow it up or something like that so you can see. So if you're using radio relay points, identify those on the maps. So this is all proactive stuff to be prepared ahead of time. And so these are things that you want to do. All right, that's it. I took a little bit longer. So we'll try to, any questions we got, we'll try to quickly go through those. I know there's a chat, but I can't see my chat. Let's see here. All right. Any questions? I hear crickets. Well, I guess it's okay.
I'll say something here, Andy.
Yeah,
The one main thing that we have to do here is make sure you understand tones, and we'll be going through that in one of these
yes,
Friday, I mean, the monthly meetings.
yeah.
How to set them and how to delete them, and make sure that you understand that normally you're going to want to delete them. Also, that the tones are going to be a little bit different on different radios, meaning that it may be position 1 or 2 on one brand of radio, and it may be position 4 on another radio. So it's a good idea to make sure you have your manual either printed out or on your phone or somewhere you can reference it during an emergency.
Thank you, Jerry. That's correct, and that's all part about being prepared and being having things ready before it hits the fan, so to speak. But I hope this helps in showing that how everybody fits together in this emergency communication system for Eugene. It all starts with the neighborhood and with the neighborhood teams, field teams, and their radio team leader or the radio operator that they speak to, and then it all flows from there to the neighborhood ham, up to the district net, and then on up to the EOC. We will be, for this exercise, the dry run that we're going to be doing in September, and also the exercise in October. I'm not going to tell you ahead of time, but we're going to change things up a little bit. And you'll see what the changes will be when I send everybody the exercise plan. I'll email everybody that I have contact wise on the exercise plan for September and October. The plan will be the same for both times, but we're going to change things up a little bit and maybe throw a wrench into the works, and we'll see how that goes. Any other questions?
Charlie here. I was wondering what kinds of, I'm just trying to figure out how people will know there's an emergency. What kinds of things do we have that we can more or less count on for people knowing something is going on? So
That's a good question, Charlie. There's nothing hard and fast that says, okay, if this happens, then it's qualified as emergency. It's almost got to be kind of like a, I guess we're free to, if we think it's bad enough, like the ice storm, then we activate. If it's like maybe a 1-day snow and it's not that bad, then maybe, maybe not. But there's nothing to say that friendly neighborhood, their situation may be different to where may be impacted a little bit harder than some other locations. So friendly would say, hey, that's pretty bad, but maybe the Whitaker neighborhood, they're fine. So, but if the friendly neighborhoods say, let's activate and let's have some people out looking the neighborhoods over, more than likely the phones will work. Start making phone calls and we'll put the whole system in place. And so, and then we can start making calls to the city and say, we've activated and we're getting some information and things like that. But there's nothing hard and fast to say, if this amount happens, okay, you're good to go. The city has been gracious enough to us to say, if there's a disaster or a major event, you don't need to wait for us to tell you to activate. Go. And I appreciate that. I don't like for us to have to be sitting by our phone and say, well, do we, what's that song? Should I go or should I leave or something like that? It's so we're able to just go ahead and go.
Thanks so much. Great answer.
I don't know if it's great, but hey, hi, Robert.
Hey, so as concerning the DAT teams and so on, uh, so there's rumors going around saying it could be CERT people, it could be, internal response teams. What do you know about that?
The damage assessment teams are not, they don't have, this is not a CERT thing. Yes, there are CERT members that are part of the emergency communication system for Eugene, but it's not a CERT deal. It's all of us. So damage assessment teams, it will be made up of just plain next door neighbors, people that want to say, I want to help.
Yeah.
So it's not a CERT thing. I do recommend, and I do, excuse me, I do recommend and I do encourage that the radio team leaders be a CERT. And if they're not a CERT, then they get the training on how to fill out a ICS 213, an ICS 309 radio log, and also how to fill out the damage assessment forms. How it's difficult to be a radio team leader for a damage assessment team if you don't know how to help your team to understand what you're, about how to get the information on up the line.
Yeah.
So I do recommend that but there's no requirements that they have to be certs.
Right. So, yeah, so the neighborhood I live in is it's a 55 plus community.
Uh-huh.
We're basically kind of internally standing up an RTL and then creating our own DAT teams. But we're a small community. We're only 113, 14 houses. So
Yeah. Well, that's not a small community. That's pretty good size, Robert, and that's fine. In the Harlow neighborhood, Quail Run Housing Association, they have 117 houses, and they're doing the same thing. They have quad captains and they have teams that take care of each of their quads. I think they got 3 quads, or 6 quads. They got 6 quads, but the whole place only has like 2 certs, but they've got teams set up.
yeah.
And they use their clubhouse as their command center. You have what is that? Oh shoot, it's over on Delta Highway Extended, Lake Ridge subdivision. This 55 and up community. And Bill, which is over there, he is the leader of the group of the emergency folks. They have 4 damage assessment teams for that whole complex, and they use their clubhouse as their command center.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. We have I don't know, it's 10 sections in the neighborhood, and each section has a neighborhood lead kind of thing, but we're also creating separate DAT teams that will go around and do surveys.
Right. Yeah, it's but I would highly encourage folks to get to understand how to fill out the 213 and the 309.
Right.
And those, you can look on the eugeneemcomm.org page, and there are blank forms there that you can download, and they come with instructions. that will help steer you through. I would recommend maybe getting with your team and just fill them out. Make up messages. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, or Jack and Jill went up the hill and Jack fell down, or whatever. You can nursery rhymes, but you make messages out of them. This September and October, each neighborhood is responsible for generating their own messages. So unless you want pictures, if you want pictures or you want envelopes with pictures, you need let me know ahead of time.
Okay, thanks.
Sure thing. Any other questions?
It's a good breaking point. We
All
have
right,
7 minutes till the next meeting.
So I think
All right, thank-
Lois does have a question.
okay, Lois.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, now we
Okay.
can.
All right, it's those forms. You went through those forms, blank forms with a lot of very specific ways to fill them out. And I couldn't write fast enough to get that information. So what I would like is not to practice with my group, putting in things where we don't know whether we're doing it right or not. Is there anybody who already has filled out those forms with made up information that is all perfectly correctly recorded with arrows from the outside edge that says whose name is in what spot and who gets this message next? But specifically to have
Okay,
example information precisely correctly done as an
Right.
example to look at. I don't
Yeah.
see that anyplace.
okay, yeah, I understand that. I do, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on the EmComm.org page, we have some videos.
Yeah, I
Show-
just put a link to the video on filling out the 213 in the chat.
So that's there, Lois, that will
Okay.
show how a form that is filled out and what goes there. Remember now, the 213 and the 309, that is filled out by the radio operator mostly. The 213 is filled out by the originator of the message. And then also each location fills out another 213 because they have to sign their name at the bottom. So
I
the first
wanna
time, yeah, the
see
first time
that
goes, yeah. So
as
this
an
is,
example.
yeah, this is the only thing that will change with the message as it goes from when it gets to the neighborhood ham, this will change. When it gets to the district net control, this will be different as it goes to the EOC. But these were just blanks, but there are some examples at the EmComm.org page.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? And hopefully we'll have some training and things on how to fill this out. This month, I think Robert may have been there. I had a class at North Kinsey on the ICS 213 workshop, but it wasn't attended very well. All right. Any other questions? All right, I got 1955. So we'll stop here, give everybody time to get over to their other nets that they want to take to. And so we will have another topic next month. And then of course we have our Wednesday net. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending, and we'll see you. Don,
Thank you, Andy.
All right.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, thanks. Don, are we okay on the net? I guess you turned it over, right?
Yes, I did.
All right, thanks, Don.
Okay,
Hey,
Thanks.
have a good
good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good one now.